What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Primium, and as you can tell by the thumbnail and the title of this video, you already know what I'm going to be talking about. So let me cut straight to the chase. Spider-Man No Way Home is the best movie of 2021, the best Marvel movie, the best superhero movie, and the best Christmas gift I could ever ask for. Plus, this Christmas gift came early. Like, I didn't even have to wait to open it. That's how great it was. And hands down, it was a 10 out of 10. Not a 9, not a 9.5, not a 9.8. It's a 10 out of 10. It was just great. And I think it's now my favorite movie. My favorite movie in the MCU was Captain America Winter Soldier. But now, I think Spider-Man No Way Home took its spot. It was just that great. It was just wow. Now this video doesn't really have a format. I'm just going to be talking off the top of my head. So yeah. But there will be a non-spoiler and a spoiler section. If you haven't seen the movie yet, go see the movie. 100% you should go see the movie. Yeah, 100%, 100%. So, this is the non-spoiler section. Going into the movie, I thought I had high expectations. I really did. From all the movie, from all the rumors in the trailer, I had high expectations for this movie. And it didn't disappoint. And I think if you go watch it, it wouldn't disappoint you. Because it was that great of a movie. It's that great of a movie. Wow. Just wow. I'm still speechless. I love Spider-Man. Like, I grew up with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, and Spider-Man 2 was my favorite Spider-Man movie of all time. Like, I even have the game for the GameCube. And this is known as one of the best games on the GameCube. And I really like this game in it. Spider-Man 2, wow, that was just an amazing movie. And don't ask me why I have the game in my pocket. Just know I came prepared to talk about how much I love Spider-Man and how much I love this movie. As if this shirt wasn't enough. But anyways, I had super high expectations for this movie. It didn't disappoint. Like, the movie was just great. It was just great. It was just great. Now, the plot was really easy to follow. Because from the last Spider-Man movie, if you haven't seen that, I don't know what to tell you, but the last Spider-Man movie, Far From Home, it picked up from where that left off, which was his identity was exposed and he had to deal with that in this movie. And let's just say, okay, let me not spoil it. We haven't reached the spoiler section. But yeah, he had to deal with that in this movie, and a lot of things happened because he had to deal with that. So that's basically how I could tell you the movie without spoiling it. So let's go into the spoiler section. But before we get into the spoiler section, if you're new to the channel, make sure you leave a like, hit that subscribe button with post notifications on so you don't miss an upload. This won't be the last time I do a review on a movie. It's either I react to it or review it. And for this movie, there was no way I was going to wait to react to it. I had to watch it because I really did not want to get spoiled. Like, it's crazy how many spoilers are on the internet. And I'm glad I was able to avoid them because, that movie was so much, it was just so good without me being spoiled. I hate being spoiled, so I just had to watch this movie. But anyways, disclaimer. In order to fully enjoy this movie for all of its glory, you need to watch Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3 from the Sam Raimi trilogy. Like, those are my personal favorites, right? And then you need to watch Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2. Those were good movies. I liked at the time. I liked those movies, and I thought those movies were good. They had some great moments, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I enjoy seeing Spider Man. And then you have to watch. Uh, you could watch Civil War because that's when Spider Man first appeared in the MCU. But the main ones is Spider Man Homecoming, Spider Man Far From Home, which is directly before Spider Man No Way Home. And you should have watched Infinity War and Endgame just to know. Those are optional, Infinity War and Endgame, to fully enjoy this movie. But any movie that Spider Man has appeared in, you should have watched it. But yeah, in order to fully enjoy this movie, you needed to see all those movies because I have, and this was just a great experience. I feel like you can't really enjoy the movie for what it is unless you've seen all the other ones, because then you wouldn't have get the references and the callbacks and all the good stuff. You wouldn't really get it. But yeah. Okay, back to the video. This is the spoiler section now. So if you haven't seen the movie, click off because I'm going to reveal the big spoiler right now. Okay. So, Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland, and Tobey Maguire in the same movie. Like, I heard the rumors and I wanted it to be true, and there was some stuff about them not being in the movie, and then there's things about them being in the movie, and then in the latest trailer, they showed that it was kind of edited and that they were in the movie. So I'm very glad that they were. I'm very glad. I'm very glad. Like, I don't think, like, even having the villains, the old villains, it would be good, but having those two, especially Tobey Maguire, because I grew up with Tobey Maguire, having them, it made the movie 10 out of 10. It wasn't just them being in the movie making it a 10 out of 10. You know, the storyline, the characters, the acting. 10 out of 10 acting for everybody. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Oh my gosh, the acting was just amazing. Like, there were so many components to this movie that made it a 10 out of 10. It's just astonishing. But yeah. But seeing them, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, it was basically a live action Spider-Verse movie. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. It was just, I'm still speechless to this moment. Like, my mind was blown away. It was blown away. Man, blown away. Having them in this movie, it was just great. Because you have the people who grew up off of Tobey Maguire, right? The people who grew up off of Andrew Garfield, and the people who grew up off of Tom Holland. They were all able to come together and enjoy this movie. And that's what's so great about it. Like, the debates of who's the best Spider-Man and which Spider-Man movies is the best, all cast aside with this movie, because it's just a great experience to have more than one Spider-Man in the same movie. It's just great. They made history with this movie. They made history. This should go down in the history books, because this movie was just amazing. And hopefully, I don't know if it might happen, but hopefully, this is not the last time we see them. Like, that's a big stretch to say that this is not the last time. But, you know, they did come back for this movie, so you can always hold out hope. But yeah, it was just great to see them. My childhood hero, Tobey Maguire. The first Spider-Man I ever knew. Back on the big screen. Wow, that was amazing. Now on to the villains. You had Sandman, Dr. Otto Octavius, Dr. Octopus, Green Goblin, Electro, and Lizard. those were all the villains. And you know, J. Jonah Jameson, he's definitely a villain too. He's like how would I say this? Uh how would I put this? He's I don't know how to put it. He's a villain. J. Jonah Jameson, he calls Spider-Man a menace. He's the real menace. J. Jonah Jameson has been the menace of the Spider-Man universe for who knows how long, but he's the real menace. And he's a villain to me. He's a villain to me. Except for in this one comic book. But other than that one comic book, he's a villain. Being the person who antagonizes Spider-Man on a daily basis. But it was cool seeing him. It was cool seeing him. Like from Far From Home, we saw him in the end credit scene. So it was cool seeing him. It was cool that they brought him back. Like Spider-Man without a J. Jonah Jameson it doesn't feel like Spider-Man truly. But that was good. But on to the real villains. I stated all of them. Okay. The concept was they were pulled from their respective universes in a given time, right? It was interesting to see that Sandman, they didn't pull Sandman further back on the timeline. They took him from after he had that talk with Spider-Man in Spider-Man 3, they took him right after there. But as for everybody else, they took them before they got defeated by Spider-Man, right? And it was interesting. It was very interesting to see Sandman team up with Tom Holland against Electro. That was pretty interesting because I thought they would have pulled him back from earlier, like after he first encountered Spider-Man, or even after the black suit. Who knows? Who knows? But it was interesting that they pulled him back from right after he had that talk with Spider-Man. And the way he introduced it, man, that was just a great moment when he was like, "Hey, it's me, Flint Marko," and I was like, "Yeah, this movie is amazing." Like when he introduced himself, man, that was just a great feeling. It was a great feeling to have this movie. Is such a great feeling. But yeah, the villains, and they did an amazing job with Electro. And you know, the one from Amazing Spider-Man, he was okay, but at the same time, he didn't really feel like Electro. In terms of design, he didn't really feel like Electro, because Electro, the way I know Electro was with the yellow and the green, but the way they put it in this movie, it was cool. It was cool to see that. And don't get me started on the references to each of their respective movies. Like, oh my gosh, there were so many references. It was crazy. Most notably, let's see, when Green Goblin, Norman Osborn said, I'm something sort of a scientist myself." Oh my gosh. When Tobey Maguire said, "my back." Oh man, the references was crazy. And even Dr. Octopus, when he said the power of the sun, and he was referencing his movie, like, man, it was just great. And just even seeing the villains interact with each other was awesome. Especially Electro, Jamie Foxx, he did. That was a great performance. He did better. Well, you know, let me not say that. But yeah, it was just a great performance. And even seeing Norman's reaction to Octavius and how they interacted, it was just great. And the acting from Green Goblin, William Dafoe, like watching Spider-Man 1, right? I knew he was the villain, right? And I didn't really have no sympathy for him because one, how many people did he kill and attack? He attacked Aunt May, he attacked Mary Jane, right? And he tried to kill Spider-Man. I had no sympathy or remorse for him when he died. Like, he was the villain. But in this movie, I felt bad for him. Like, I knew he had the split personality, but I might have been too young, but still, I didn't really feel nothing because I just thought he was crazy. But in this movie, they changed my perspective of him. Like, it opened my eyes. It opened my eyes to his character. It opened my eyes. Like, that's just another great part of this movie. It opened my eyes to Green Goblin. And it's like, I felt bad for him. I never felt bad for Green Goblin ever in my life. But this is the moment I actually felt bad. Not even when he died. When he died, I didn't even feel bad. I'm not a bad person, by the way. But yeah. And in this movie, I felt bad for him. Because it was like he was trapped. And it is a result of his own doing. But at the same time, he didn't know that would happen. So he was trapped. He was trapped. And he didn't want to be that way. And it was sad. Even the moment where he said, when he realized that this universe is not his own, talking about his house, his company, like even his son, that hit hard. That hit hard to me for some reason. Like, man, I really felt for the Green Goblin. I never thought, even when he smashed his mask, I was like, whoa, this is a completely different person. This is the same person who wanted to kill Spider-Man? Like, I couldn't believe it. But wow. The villains, great. We didn't really get much from the Lizard. Because he really didn't talk that much. But it was great seeing the Lizard. Now on to the next part. Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Now, if you haven't seen Amazing Spider-Man 2, you should. But this movie served as a redemption for him. Because in Amazing Spider-Man 2, he wasn't able to save Gwen. But in this movie, he was able to save Gwen, if you understand what I'm saying. One of the most important people to Tom Holland, Spider-Man, he was able to save her. He was able to save Zendaya, MJ, you know? And it was great to see that. Even his reaction after saving her. Because he didn't get to save Gwen Stacy. But being able to save MJ, that meant a lot for him. And him even stating that he was kind of like messed up after all that happened and he became more vengeful. Or not more vengeful, rageful. I feel like that moment might have cured him. And that's why I say that this movie was like a redemption for him. It was like a redemption. And I like that. I like that. That was a good part of the movie. Okay. Tobey Maguire. Seeing him again was amazing. It was just amazing. Seeing him again was amazing. I hope we can see him again. Wait, what? I hope we could see him again. But that would be a stretch. But if we do, it would be amazing. A second time. But yeah, seeing him was just incredible. It was incredible. Yeah. Now when he got stabbed by the Green Goblin, why did I think that he was gonna die? I don't know. I don't know. I was like, but then I was like, he's gonna be fine. He's gonna be fine. Like for a quick second, I thought he was gonna die. I thought that if they had actually killed him off, I would have been like. But then when he said, "I've been stabbed many times before," I was like, "Okay, he's good. He's good. He's good." I'm glad they didn't kill him off, because if they had killed him off in this movie, I would have had to bring this movie down to like a 9.5 or a 9. But yeah, it was great to see him. Okay, on to the next part. Uh, the interaction between all the Spider-Men about the webs. That was a good part. I had seen a comment or post about what it would be like if those three met in a movie, and it's crazy how it actually came to fruition. Like, it was just great to see that. And them talking about, because Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is the only Spider-Man to have organic web fluid, while the others, they have web shooters. So when they was talking about web shooters and web fluid, and man, that was just a great part of the movie, a great part. It was great. And what I loved about their interaction, like Andrew, he said brothers, like he referred to them as brothers because they all been through the same thing, and that is being Spider-Man. So that was just great. That was great because Spider-Man, he usually does things on his own, whether it's fighting multiple villains or stopping a robbery. He does it on his own. So actually seeing him get help from others like him, that was great. That was great. That was great. That team up was necessary. It was necessary. I really think it was necessary. I don't think the movie would have been the same without it. Like, it was necessary. It was necessary. But yeah, curing the villains. So, if I was Spider-Man, I would have just sent them back because they're not my problem. Right? But I'm not Spider-Man. So, he actually tried to help them. And it did work until the Green Goblin came out and influenced Electro and whatever. And that was that. I knew something like that was gonna happen because Electro seemed like the only one who really it looked like he was obsessed with power. He didn't want to let it go. And I knew he wasn't going to give up on being that kind of person so easily. So yeah. And also seeing Spider-Man's Spidey senses tingle, like seeing more of that because we didn't really get much of that in the last movies. Like we got it in Infinity War, but we didn't really get much of that in the MCU. But it was in this movie. It was in a lot of this movie. It was in a lot. I like that. I like that. I want to see more Spidey Sense scenes, slow motion scenes, because they pulled that off in this movie. But I want to see more of those in the next Spider-Man movies because that's what Spider-Man is. Like, you can't just not showcase one of his powers. You have to showcase all of it. But yeah. So, curing the villains. They eventually got cured, but like I said earlier about Andrew Garfield's redemption, I feel like the villains got some redemption as well. Because I was talking about Green Goblin and how I said I had no sympathy for him, but I had sympathy for him this movie. And I'm glad that each one of them was cured. They could live a different life. They could definitely live a different life. And it was interesting that Tom wanted to cure them. It was interesting. And what that means for their respective universes is that all these people who were supposed to die, they don't die. So it's like it's rewriting those movies. And that's cool. It's cool. That's cool. Because usually a superhero locks a bad guy up or sends them away, and then they're still a bad guy. So when you're a superhero, you're not just a superhero to the to regular citizens, to regular people you save. You also have to be a superhero to the villains. And Spider-Man is that character. He is that character who would invest in the villains to try to make them better. And we've seen it in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, we've seen it in Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and we've seen it here. And especially, like, this isn't the first time Tom has done this. He did this in Homecoming too, I'm pretty sure, with Vulture. But yeah, that's Spider-Man. He cares about the villains, unlike other superheroes who just fights them, kills them, or sends them away so they could come back again and fight them. But yeah, the importance of Aunt May's death. Now, I was surprised. I didn't really think anybody would die in this movie. I didn't really think that. But even when she got hit, I thought she was okay. But then, because she was still talking, and it seemed like she was fine. And then when she died, it was like, wait, she actually died? I didn't really think they would kill off anybody, let alone her. But the importance of it is that she left him with the words he needed to hear. Right? The famous quote in Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. Now, Spider-Man 1, we had Uncle Ben, right? He told Spider-Man, he told Tobey Maguire the quote, and then he passed away. And then Amazing Spider-Man, we didn't really see Uncle Ben, but Andrew Garfield, he did have, he was told the quote, and then his Uncle Ben passed away. And what's interesting about this movie, we didn't get an Uncle Ben. And I know a lot of people had problems with Uncle Ben not being there, and Iron Man, them trying to put Iron Man in that role. Everybody had their problems with that. It was different. But having Aunt May say that was important. And I like how they kept up the trend with the people who tell you that is the people who pass away. Like that was interesting. But yeah, with great power comes great responsibility. He got to hear those words, and it's pretty sad that she died. It was pretty sad. Man, this is the second to last part. But the ending to the movie. So we came into this movie knowing that his identity was blown. His cover was blown. Everybody knew who Spider-Man was. So he went to Doctor Strange to get this resolved. He wanted to erase everybody's minds but the people who already knew, right? And because he messed with the spell, it brought the other Spider-Man and the villains into his universe. So the villains came, and he had to, talk to them and fight them. And then after all that was done, the end of the movie, this was actually really sad. This is probably the saddest part of the movie. But the end of the movie, everybody had to forget he was Spider-Man. Everybody. Only because he messed the spell up. He wanted everybody but select people to forget, and now everybody forgets. And that was sad. And he said that he'll be able to convince his friend and girlfriend, of who he is. And when the time came, he couldn't. It's like, how do you even do that? That's like, if you talk to somebody with amnesia who completely forgot about you, and then you try to convince them, they're gonna have doubts. And with this movie, it's like years of knowing Ned, having the experiences with MJ, the experiences with the Avengers, with Happy, all that gone. All that. That was actually pretty sad. That was pretty sad. Like, his existence was basically forgotten. He was basically forgotten. Nobody knew who he was. Like, I couldn't live like that. That would be heartbreaking. That'd be heartbreaking. But the fact that he could carry on the mantle as Spider-Man shows how much he's developed as a character. And I think having the other Spider-Man in this movie helped his development. Especially in the scene where he wanted to kill Green Goblin, but Tobey Maguire gave him his experience with the killer of Uncle Ben and how that all went down. He definitely helped Tom, and that was great. And I can't refer to them as Peter or Spider-Man because they're all Spider-Man, they're all Peter. So I have to refer to them as their actor names. But yeah, his development, man, it's crazy. Nobody knows who you are. And I wonder, will he be able to convince them? Who knows? Maybe. And now the last part. So, the end credit scene, right? Wow. Wow. So, that end credit scene, man. Just, wow. Now, my question is, I really want to know how they're going to pull it off. Because we had Venom already in a Spider-Man movie, right? But I just wonder how they're gonna do it. I just wonder. Because that could be a great movie. Because Venom is a really big villain to Spider-Man. And they couldn't have just bring the Venom from Venom because they've kind of made him a good guy, right? And that wouldn't really fit with Spider-Man until he goes to, well, yeah, that wouldn't really fit with Spider-Man. But the fact that a portion of it is now in Tom Holland's universe, it's so many things. Because Venom is such a big villain to Spider-Man. Such a big villain. And now that Venom is in this universe, I wonder if they'll bring Carnage. Because Carnage was already in, they brought him in that other movie, but I wonder if they'll bring him back again. That would be great. I could see that. So my question is this. How are they going to pull it off? How is the suit going to look? Because Spider-Man 3 suit, best Spider-Man suit. My favorite suit. But I wonder how they're going to do it with this new Spider-Man. I wonder. Also, at the end of the movie, he changed his suit. And I think he had that red and blue with the goggles. He had that suit, but this new suit, I think he took a little bit of inspiration from the new Spider-Man. I think so. And what's good is that it's a parallel to the Spider-Verse because he got this rinky dink Miles Morales. He got this rinky dink Spider-Man costume, and then later on in the movie, he made his own Spider-Man costume. It was black and red. It still had the red, but the lines were familiar, and you could see there was inspiration off of Spider-Man. So it was cool that they both found inspiration off of Spider-Man. But I think that's what that scene was at the end of the movie of No Way Home, I think. Or else just don't pay attention to that. And yeah. So he gets the suit. And we know how Venom is. I wonder if that Venom if it has the same personality as the one in Venom, or if it will have the same behavior as the one in Spider-Man 3. The one that it makes you kind of like a bad guy. That's the Spider-Man 3 one. Makes you kind of like a bad guy. And I wonder if that's going to cause him to do the classic dancing. I don't think that's going to happen, but that would be cool to see. But it's not going to happen. But yeah, makes him a sort of a villain. Until he realizes that it's bad for him and then he gets it off. And now, what would be interesting is how they pull off Eddie Brock. Who will Eddie Brock be? Because after Spider-Man has it, it's Eddie Brock. And how will Eddie Brock terrorize this Spider-Man? Because he knows his identity. So, man, there's so much. That would be a good movie. But anyways, if you enjoyed this review, make sure you leave a like, comment down below what your thoughts on this movie was, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.